young people, then maybe we should talk about a blanket gun ban. And let's get to what the left really wants here. And you say that you're for the Second Amendment.
Why is it about left or right? Because in Britain this never is about left or right, this issue. Why is it here?
Well, we can talk about Britain in a second. I think the reason that it's about left and right here is because fundamentally the right believes that the basis for the Second Amendment, and they believe in the Second Amendment, the basis for the Second Amendment is not really about self-defense and it's not about hunting. It is about resistance to government tyranny. That's what the founders said, and that's what the right believes in this country.
Which tyranny are you fearing yourself?
I fear the possibility of a tyranny rising in this country in the next 50 to 100 years. Let me tell you something, Piers. The fact that my grandparents and great-grandparents in Europe didn't fear that is why they are now ashes in Europe. It's called evidence of racism. When there is no evidence of racism, it's probably not racism. When there is actual evidence of racism, it's probably racism. And the fact that everybody jumps from there's inequality and therefore there is inequity, just because there's inequality does not mean there was inequity.
But there has to be racism. You can't say there's no racism.
Without evidence?
No. I'm just saying that I don't know which animal. Maybe we're talking about dogs or something. I'm talking about human beings, and I'm like, human beings are most likely going to have racial prejudices. I'm just so sorry. I'm just so sorry. I don't know. I come from planet Earth.
Charles, I want to ask you a question. So your default is that when there is no evidence, racism is the deciding factor. That is
no, I was not saying that. I'm just saying that you're going to have sexists, you're going to have racists, you're going to have all this stuff. I mean, I'm just saying that.
I agree it exists, but the problem that I'm seeing, and this is the problem with the general conversation, is that there's no solution in simply saying there's racism out there. How does that solve anything? I mean, when you talk about there's institutional racism, what does that mean? Show me a law that is racist in intent, and we will agree. Show me a police officer who commits a racist act, like we saw in South Carolina, right, where a police officer shot a black man running away, and it was obviously unjustified, and I will agree. But you need the idea that you can craft a narrative based on no racism because it just must be somewhere out there in the ether, that doesn't solve problems for anybody and creates more problems for people because now they grow up in a milieu and an environment where they are told that every obstacle they face is from some shadowy, nameless, faceless group who's out to get them simply because of the color of their skin. They'll never succeed in that environment.
I'm finding a lot of what you're saying extremely offensive. I don't think there's different types of feminists.
No, so would you say the feminists who say I want equality for both genders and one that says I want women to be superior are the same?
No, they're not feminists.
They're not feminists. Okay, well, I mean, you can say that, but that's the no true Scotsman theory. That's the no true Scotsman fallacy.
I asked you if you were a feminist and you said no. And
no,
I'm a feminist because I believe in equality for men and for women and men and for all genders.
So women and men.
No, all genders.
No, so women and men.
There's women.
There are two genders biologically. I'm sorry.
No, there isn't. There's you're not now you're totally excluding transgender, non-binary, gender fluid people, and yeah, these.
I mean, you can live in your unicorn world.
I'm going to assume that you're a cisgender straight woman because you obviously
that's really true.
and that you probably haven't ever been raped. Either.
I actually identify as an attack helicopter, so it's really offensive.
You sound like you're speaking from a very privileged point of view here.
Very privileged.
Yes.
I would like you to use my pronouns if you could. They're I, me, and my.
So now you're mocking the LGBTQ community now.
I have lots of LGBTQ friends, and they don't get professionally offended at everything. My LGBTQ friends are usually male and female and not some unicorn gender that's been made up.
That's so hateful. You're just like erasing. Yeah.
Construct. Gender is a social construct, right? And I don't have boobs. That's just a social construct. Oh, and penises don't exist, right?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
There's male and there's female. There are two biological genders. Science exists. I'm sorry to tell you all that science exists, but it does.
And I'm sure that I know a lot of people.
Loud. And I mean, science probably disagrees with you.
Validate those people's experiences, like transgender people. That's so important to their lives and their identity and their happiness and their well-being and their health. How can you deny the existence of these people's identities and their need to have that well-being?
They can do whatever they want. That doesn't mean science or myself have to agree with you believing you are agender, you believing you're a demigirl or some non-existent gender that's been made up.
It's non-existent. It's incredibly important to them.
You know what else is important?
Finish her!
Science, facts, and biology. Those are also very important to the advancement of the human race, to treating people's diseases, to reproduction.
Yo, what the fuck?